Gavin, a huge fight for you here, man. Just to get this opportunity after the road you've had so far in the UFC, is this just kind of feeling like you're finally where you want and need to be?
They're all big fights, you know. So I try not to think about that, the pressure that comes with top 10 fights and stuff like that. Of course, I'm grateful. What an opportunity. But I'm just going to treat it like I do every other fight. Focus more on the specifics of what it takes to win rather than what the fight means after the fact. Because that's not a thing unless you do what's necessary first. So.
And before this fight came to be, there was reports out there that you were going to be fighting Cub Swanson. Can you just talk about exactly what happened with that from your perspective? Because it seems like it was maybe never actually over kind of the finish line in terms of being made.
Yeah, I can only speak from my perspective. I thought the fight was done. I'm not sure what went on the backside of from the industry and things, but I accepted the fight, and I was, obviously honored to fight Cub. Cub's a legend, and I'm not sure what happened, if it was injury or miscommunication or whatever. From my end, we accepted and moved forward, and I thought it was there because it had gotten announced on some websites and media pages I saw, so I just assumed, okay, we're in business, and moved forward, and then later found out it wasn't, so I'm not sure. I wish him the best. Hopefully there's no injury or anything of that nature, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened, and then I got a call, obviously, for Ige, so at the end of the day, I jumped the queue on that one, so it turned out fine either way.
I was gonna say, like, does that? I'm sure, Cub, like you said, a legend, a big name. I'm sure you want to fight him, but to have this as the alternative, obviously Dan coming off a main event, ranked and all that stuff, it probably makes accepting maybe any disappointment there a little bit easier.
Yeah, they're all tough. Like every fight's a big fight, whether they're ranked or not. And Cub was number 5 in the world, I think, at one point, maybe even higher. So I think people kind of seem to forget that as well. But yeah, obviously this one's got a number beside it, and bigger rewards, and so I'm grateful. Big opportunity. I think it says a lot about Dan as a competitor as well, to be able to kind of pay things forward. The chances he got, he's paying them forward to me. So it's a lot of respect there and appreciation. I think we're going to have a great competition on Saturday.
Yeah, it's great to hear that or hear you say that, because Dan was here earlier and he basically said as much that people have given me my opportunities and I feel like it's kind of my responsibility to give Gavin his chance. Do you think that's something maybe in the fight game, especially these days with UFC rankings and those kind of things, like enough people aren't willing to do that to a degree?
Yeah, but Dan's a different kind of fighter. I think as a man you can see that, and his team around him, Coach Eric and guys like that, I have a lot of respect for. They seem to do things really like a really solid way. And address and go forward with respect in a really solid way. So only expect that from him. I don't know. I can't tell you about what the other competitors are like. I know the top 10, top 5 has been tied up for a long time. Maybe guys don't want to pay it back, but that's not something that I know for certain. I see a lot less movement in the top 10 than I do in the rest of the division. I don't know if fights there are harder to match, and I can't imagine Sean Shelby's job is very easy, especially when you're looking at the top guys and how it all sorts out. But Dan's been consistent since he started. He wants to fight, and I know he lost his opponent, so I'm very, very happy to step in and very happy he's given the opportunity, and the UFC's given me the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, in terms of your training, I mean, are you a guy that's just constantly always ready? Because obviously the Cub fight was supposed to happen in May, and this is significantly sooner. So how did you feel, I mean, in terms of the training, do you feel like you got all the time you needed for this fight?
Yeah, I fight every Saturday. I fight every Saturday at Titans MMA in Halifax. I fight every Saturday. So this is a great opportunity. People say short notice, and I just dismiss it. I've been ready. And since the last fight, my first fight, I got a bonus in. I put a home gym in. I've been training the whole month of January. I've been doing 3 a days, velocity-based training, worked on my eyes, worked on everything. There's so many big improvements I've made. So as far as people thinking I'm coming off a 3-week camp, that's just not the case. That's just not the case. And people won't be able to say it after I win. He did it on 3 weeks or whatever. I put in a full camp. I came here at a great weight. I came in at the best weight I've come in on. My diet's on point. My training's on point. I'm living the life, so that when these opportunities come up, they're my opportunities to take.
Great to hear. And last thing for me, I'm sure you get this question a lot back home, but as the Canadian in the room myself, I'm sure I kind of got to ask, like, in terms of the promising Canadian talent, it seems like you're really just trending towards the right direction and being, one of the prominent names. Do you embrace that at all? I mean, it seems like in the post-GSP, Rory McDonald era in the UFC, there just hasn't been that person. Is that like a role you want to fill? Do you even care? Is it something you're passionate about? What would you kind of say in terms of that?
Again, it's not something that I personally focus on as far as what I want to be to other people, because the first thing that has to get handled are the specifics to get these victories. The after effect, the thing, I'm from a small town in Canada too, Newfoundland, or a small town in Newfoundland in Canada. So my main motivation is to fight, and I want to represent myself well and the country well. I have Firas in the corner, who's obviously guided a lot of people into doing the same, and I'm going to do what I do, show respect, and do that typical Canadian thing that we do, and go in there and win fights, and hopefully do it in the right way that people can look at and say, he's a respectful kid. He's not in here trying to make money or just gain Instagram followers or money. I'm here for truth and victory.
When I hear you talk about Dan, I can hear a lot of respect in your voice, especially when you said that him and his team do things like a good way in this sport. They don't sort of pick and choose their fights. Do you wish that was the norm? Because that's rarer and rarer almost, it seems, in this sport.
I hate to say this again, but I don't think about it too much. I think that at the end of the day, everyone's trying to protect their careers and have a good career and make money, feed their families and stuff like that. So I think it depends on who you are, where you are, what your team is, how much you have to lose, how much you have to gain, how many mouths you have to feed, everything else. So I'm not trying to judge people for not doing it, but I think at the end of the day, fighters fight. It's like, can you go? Yes, then go. And that's just what it is. If this is the job, it comes with the stresses. They're normal stresses. And I've been laid up for a long time too, and people may make assumptions. But my main thing was health. I trained myself into holes and trenches constantly. And I think that a lot of these fighters, like I say, that haven't fought in over a year, that are healthy, or people that are out on USADA suspensions, and not to make assumptions, stuff like that too. But I'm not really certain on why things get tied up. But it's great to see, for shows and from a fan's perspective, to see competitors being consistent and constant. Champions fight a lot less, and the top contenders seem to fight a lot less. My goal is to get into these top rankings and not have that happen. Just go on keep that steady momentum, steady consistency. Make time for growth, of course, because you can't fight every back to back and have solid fundamental growth in between where you get to walk away and work on certain aspects of the sport. But at the end of the day, I think consistency is really important in this sport, because you have a small shelf life. That runs out very fast. Like I said earlier, I'm in my 30s right now, so I know that I'm in or approaching my physical prime, and the time is now to kind of make this stuff happen. So to answer your question, I'm not sure that I can say whether or not people should fight more, or I wish it was more of an old school mentality where fighters just fight everyone that they're offered. But for me, I'm always gonna be here as long as my health is in place and it works out on a personal end. I'm always going to be here to compete, because I love competing.
Thanks very much.
Dan had mentioned he likes your fight style, and he thought he saw some similarities between the two of you, and it was almost that he was excited because he knew that he would have somebody that was willing to go forward and meet him in the middle. Do you see similarities between your fight styles as well?
Yeah, I think there's certain things that are similar. That's funny. He said he thinks I'm going to come forward and meet him in the middle. Is it?
Somewhat along that. I could be paraphrasing it, but it seemed like he was excited. Like he knew that you weren't going to be afraid to throw down.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we're getting in there to fight. There's going to definitely be that. But at the end of the day, I think there's more differences and distinctions than there are similarities. And I was talking to my striking coach, Coco, about this earlier, the difference in technical and tactical application. So I think you might see some stuff. Dan is... on paper, maybe you wouldn't see him as the type of striker who could get in there and compete with a guy like Barbosa or have the boxing prowess of Qatar, yet he gets in and has close contests and a striking context with them. And this is not because of his technical prowess, it's because of his tactical application. And I don't know if that comes from Eric or comes from what, but where he puts the fight, which range he controls, where his strengths are, stuff like this, is very specific, you know. And I think you can see similarities, but if you look at my fights, I bring something different every fight, every single one, and I try to tailor it to the guy that I'm about to fight with. So I do see some similarities, but mostly physical in height, reach, certain applications and stuff like that too. But I do believe there's more distinction. There's more differences than there are similarities.
And that kind of goes to one of the themes that sort of happened today was we did have a lot of fighters that came in and said, I don't watch tape on my opponent. I don't really look at my opponent.
That's crazy.
You sound completely opposite in that sense, where it sounds like you've done the tape work yourself as well. Is that typical for you going into a fight? Would you like to do a lot of studying of your opponent?
And you can ask these boys behind you. I'm an absolute psychopath for that. I can tell you which Dan holds the fork in and which hand he holds the knife in to cut a steak. You know, like I'm not messing around when it comes to this. If we're on the ground and he turns a direction to get up, I know which direction that's going to be ahead of time. I like tape because I like the sport as a sport too, you know, and I think looking at it from a strategical standpoint gives you a lot, and that kind of work, for some people maybe it makes them anxious. I don't know why you wouldn't watch tape, but it's a sport at the end of the day, so the more information you can have to weaponize, why wouldn't you? This is crazy to me. And it doesn't have to be the fighters watching tape. You know, it comes down to competence as well. Maybe you're not the type of guy who has eyes that can take these things, but someone has to fucking watch tape. That's insane if you're not watching tape. You just show up and treat it like someone just walked into your gym on a Saturday and you're about to spar. That's, hey, I don't mean to judge. If that's the method, and that's what you enjoy. But I'm here to climb, and I'm not going to climb without intelligence and just leave that behind. And so I'm studying. I like tape, and my team likes tape. And Firas is joining us tomorrow, and he likes tape. Every one of us, we like tape.
It sounds obviously that you like tape.
I like tape.
And I think just to pique your analytical side of the brain, and you already kind of touched on it as well. But if you had to lay out where he is the most dangerous and where the factors that you need to pay attention and watch for going in on Saturday, what would be those dangers that you have to keep an eye out for?
It depends on how he approaches the fight. It depends on which range he wants the fight to be in, which facet of the game he wants it to be in, whether he wants to engage in grappling, whether it's clinch and wall work or groundwork. And it depends on his hesitancy. If he decides he's gonna, like you said earlier, I really paid attention to the fact that you said he said you guys will meet in the middle and throw down and scrap. That delivers a message of where the mentality is. You know what I'm saying? Do you send me a message of what you just said? So it depends. It depends. I think I can't say that for sure because we don't know, and these fights are just a lot of times so competitive they're a coin flip. But I can guarantee you that we're going to have a period of time where we're trying to discover each other's intentions. And I think the person who discovers the intentions first and then has a solid set plan to capitalize on what to do about it is going to be the guy who ends up taking control, at least in the first round. And then coming back to the third, I think, is where you're going to see more of the statement that Dan had made. The third is going to be, if it sees the third, it's going to be one of those telltale moments for what fighters do.
And you had mentioned that this fight poses bigger rewards. Does that mean you expect with a good finish or anything that you should at least take that top 10 position? Or I believe the UFC has him at number 9. I know those rankings are kind of just weird at times, but do you see yourself with a good finish here jumping into that top 10?
The rewards I have, this sport has rewarded me every week. Preparing for these fights has made me grow so much as a martial artist. When we talk about rewards, I'm speaking to you. So in the theme of industry versus artistry, artistically, I've been rewarded already. Industry-wise, I think that there's no question I should have a number next to the name. If he's ranked number 9 and I beat 9, then it wouldn't make any sense that I wouldn't be at least 9 to me. But I don't know how these rankings works, and I'm not sure anyone does at this point when I look back on how they're set up and sometimes who's there. But the reward should be what you fight for, and from an industry point of view and the UFC point of view, what we're fighting for is the number 9 spot, and so that seems to be like obvious. Otherwise, he would not have anything to gain from fighting backwards. He should be able to ascend from victories, and I should be able to ascend from victories. Otherwise, we get a lot of what you asked in questions earlier, people that are not willing to risk it for the biscuit, you know, and then no one moves up, and things stay at a standstill for long periods of time, and you know, the matchmakers are pulling their hair out, and the industry owners and leaders are pulling their hair out, trying to be frustrated dealing with personalities rather than athletes. I think, I don't know. I mean, I could change my mind in 5 minutes. I don't really know, but in this moment, that's how I feel.
And obviously, it seems the industry rewards are the ones that are going to may pay out financially and the different benefits. But when you think about, I guess, when you touched on the artistry rewards and what that means for yourself, which is more important?
Yeah, I'm not here for money or likes on Instagram. Right? I love this sport. I'm here for blood and truth, and that's the important things to me. To see who's supposed to be at the top of this division, and who's earned their spot, and that's the most important thing.
And lastly, you have a couple wins here in this building. Do you feel like you got the home field advantage coming into this one?
I mean, he's from Vegas. I think he maybe trains here sometimes at the Apex. I told my coaches earlier, I just found familiarity. I just found my footing after the last fight, where I can come in with a pretty good pattern of what to expect and what to feel come fight night, and what it feels like in there, what the lights feel like, what the canvas feels like on the bottom skin of the feet, and everything else. So I do feel like at this point, I'm going to be able to bring a very authentic version of what I think is going to be close to my optimal self, and that's the goal, to bring in the best version of me, because I know he's going to get it done.
Best of luck.
Yes, sir.